Hello there, welcome to your daily dose. If you have ever had a teenage daughter, then you have a new concept of speech and words and how they work. If I'm being completely honest, I have a lot of difficult times trying to understand even what Emma's trying to say. And I don't know if that's her speech or if it's my ability to hear, but yeah, it's difficult. And then I think of other teenage girls that I've been around, and it's a lot the same. But then I think about my son, Isaiah, and how, as a boy, he just tends to kind of grunt things like a caveman. But having teenage kids, you learn a lot about language and words that you use. Well, that's what this passage of Scripture is about in Colossians. We're in Colossians chapter 4 now, and we're going to look at verses 2 through 6. The first couple of verses talk about our communication with God, and then the rest is about our communication with others. So Colossians 4:2 says, "Devote yourselves to prayer, stay alert in it with thanksgiving. At the same time, pray also for us that God may open a door to us for the word to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am in chains." So he starts off in verse 2 talking about prayer. There's these different aspects of prayer that he talks about. The first one is devote yourselves, being devoted in prayer. Prayer is something that we need to take specific time for, that we need to dedicate a large amount of time to doing and being a part of. It's not just an event that happens. Prayer should be a lifestyle, a daily thing that we do and throughout the day. And then he says, devote yourselves to prayer. Stay alert in it. Be alert in your prayer life. Be aware of what's going on, both the speaking and the listening. That prayer is a conversation that happens between us and God. Be alert. Be aware of what's happening. And then he says, be alert in it with thanksgiving. Being thankful. And I think that's interesting when you consider where Paul is as he's writing the book of Colossians. He's in prison. And he's encouraging them to pray for him and to be thankful as he also is trying to be thankful. In the midst of our circumstances, in the midst of what's going on in our lives, we can get so caught up in that and so bogged down in that, but it's important to be thankful and to remember the things that God has done for us and be thankful in those things. At the same time, pray also for us that God may open a door to us for the word. So while we are praying to God, while we are being devoted, alert, and being thankful, our prayer focus should be on God and our relationship with Him, but it also has to be focused on others. I don't know about you, but a lot of times my prayer life gets very self-centered. And I tend to only pray when there's some tragedy going on in my life, something that I have to specifically pray about right then in that moment. Well, this horrible thing might happen, or I'm facing this difficult decision or this difficult circumstance. I'll pray about those things, but I often don't remember to just pray for other people. Well, sure, I may pray for them when they're in crisis, but just lifting people up and being thankful for them, that's the idea here. It's just being thoughtful of other people in our prayer life. Paul's in prison. He has a lot that he could be thinking about himself right now, but he's taken the time to pray and be thankful for these people, this church in Colossae. So we have to remember our conversation with God. And that should be ongoing, how we talk with God. And at the same time, we need to be considerate of our conversation with others and how we talk to other people, so that I may make it known as I should. Verse 5. Act wisely toward outsiders, making the most of the time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you should answer each person. So this falls under the category of evangelism, of witnessing. And as I say those words, I kind of cringe inside, because I know that those those topics, those words, those conversations have been used a lot of times as a form of manipulation to force people and coerce people into something that they're not willing to do or ready to do. So I struggle to use those words, but I see no other way to describe what's happening here. Our lives should be a witness to who God is, so that as people see us live our lives, as people hear us talk about Christ, that they're drawn to Him, so that our lives are a witness. We're not just trying to coerce people into something that they're not ready to do, but we're living as an example of Christ so that they'll want to have what we have in our lives, the joy, the peace, and the hope that comes through Him. So how do we do that? How is he suggesting we do that here? Verse 5, act wisely toward outsiders, to act wisely. As they will see Christ in us, they will see, as they see how we live our lives, they see Christ in us, and they see His wisdom in us. Not our actions, but His actions. Act wisely. Make the most of the time, because time is short. It's important for us to be actively living like Christ. We can't just take a vacation from being Christ-like. It's important for us to try to remember every day to walk with Him. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt. Gracious speech, so that they hear the words of Christ. As I read through the Gospels and I hear the words of Jesus, I just don't see Him saying anything that isn't gracious and filled with grace. And that's the way our speech needs to be also. Always gracious. This is seasoned with salt. And I love the richness of that phrase, of that analogy. If you're eating a meal and there's not enough salt, if there's not enough seasoning, it's immediate, right? You instantly know, man, there's something missing here. It needs something else. It needs some salt. It needs something to happen here. And then on the other side of the coin, if you have something that you're eating that is over salted, it has too much salt, it's just disgusting, isn't it? You don't want to eat that. You instantly think, man, this has way too much salt, or this has way too much seasoning. It's just overbearing. It just covers up the flavor of the whole meal. So seasoned with salt, but the right amount of salt. Having the right amount sprinkled in throughout your day, throughout your life, throughout your conversations. The right amount of love, the right amount of hope, the right amount of Christ. That's why. Why should we season our words with salt? So that you may know how you should answer each person. So as you live your life and people ask questions, why do you believe this way? Why do you feel that way? So that you're able to explain, this is what Christ has done for me. This is why I walk the way I do. And you can encourage people through that, through your words. So our conversations with God, that's where we get our fuel, our conversation with others, so that we can continue to represent Christ and show the world the love, the grace, and the kindness that only comes from Him. Hope that's encouraging to you today. I hope it's a good reminder of your words and the words you say. It's been a good reminder for me. I hope you're well, and I hope you're blessed. We'll see you soon.